Well, my name is Canyon Tyler Ashworth. Here's the full name. Mm-hmm. I am a resident in Lenexa, Kansas.
Yeah. So Kenyon, just tell us a little bit about the story that kind of brought you here to this interview. I know a lot of folks probably have not read the article, your opinion piece, and then what transpired after the opinion piece. So maybe just start off with, how this all came to be.
Yeah, so late last year, like kind of September-ish, mm-hmm. I had an op-ed published in the Kansas City Star that basically was criticizing the Lenexa Police Department for their actions not really matching their words. Mm-hmm. They had said, hey, Lenexa community, I think JOCO at large, but I'll focus on Lenexa specifically. I know there's a lot of questions about ICE and our role in raids and whatnot, but we're here to, look out for the community. That's priority one. However, my op-ed asked, okay, well, if that's the case, how come you investigated former city councilwoman Melanie Arroyo for her citizenship status based off, like, an entirely random phone call somebody called into the police department and basically saying, hey, I don't know if she's legal or not, which is crazy because she was at the time a sitting member of Lenexa City Council. So, like, presumably you would get, a background check or something done at that point. So just absolutely insane. So there was that, and then there also was their sort of heads-up notice kind of participation in a ICE raid that occurred at a restaurant not even too far from where I live. And that article basically was just saying, hey, if you are here to protect us, what are you doing? Like, your actions are not matching your words. So that went live, and then within, I want to say 24 to 48 hours, that article made its way to the Lenexa Police Department, and that article was then passed off to a crime analyst within the department, and they basically opened up a criminal investigation into me as a result of that. That's kind of the very short version. The additional context is, at the time, around that exact same time, somebody in the Lenexa was going around putting up posters in the area, kind of like left-wing, lefty posters, like remember what we used to do to fascists, that kind of thing, like weird pictures of CEOs and whatnot. And it's never been made clear to me because the department has not said why, but they used my article as, in my opinion, an excuse to tie me to whoever was putting up these posters that they didn't like, and then opened up a formal investigation into me, which I didn't even hear about until February, when a reporter knocked on my door and said, hey, I don't know if you know this or not, but the Lenexa PD opened a criminal investigation into you, and that's how I became aware of it. Calling this person that was putting these posters up, they were calling them the paper hanger, which is I don't even know how to really react to that other than just it's kind of ridiculous. It feels very kitschy, very ooh, this guy's the paper hanger. Who's putting up all these posters in the area? Extremely over dramatic, case file name, very CIA kind of case file.
You found out about this because obviously you had been involved, were mm-hmm. critical, and then never imagined that there would be a police investigation that would begin because of your article. This is just something that anybody and everybody that can do it, has written an op-ed, or talked, done some type of organizing. How did it feel to be whoa, there is something going on that I had no idea I was even involved in?
Yeah, it was, I kind of had two reactions to it. The first reaction was, of course, whoa, I can't believe that this is actually happening to me. And then the other reaction I kind of had was, I guess in a weird way, I wasn't really that surprised. The cameras that they used to track me, these ALPR cameras, these automatic license plate reader cameras, are everywhere. They're in every town, municipality. They're literally everywhere, and they were not installed with a lot of community consent. So on some level, in the back of my head, I thought, this is a possibility that I'll get tangled up into these one of these days, just by virtue of being politically active and whatnot. But then it actually happened, and it happened not as a result of me being like in a direct action campaign, doing any civil disobedience or anything like that. It was, I wrote an article, which, to be very clear, while it was critical, it wasn't like a very insane ask. It wasn't like everyone in the Lenexa Police Department should quit. It was like, hey guys, do what you're saying you're supposed to be doing. And that is what got me in trouble. Like, that is what got them to go after me, was I wrote an article and they were like, no, I don't like that. So I think it's extraordinary. I think it's ridiculous. Ridiculous, extraordinary, and just, wrong. I felt terrible for weeks afterwards. Like, I even kind of toned down how much I was organizing for a little bit because I wasn't sure if I was going to be endangering other people. I didn't know, if the investigation was still going on. I didn't know any of that, so I had to kind of take a step back for a minute and reassess. So it definitely freaked me out a little bit.
It's like, do you believe this was like an attempt to intimidate you into silence and compliance?
It's hard not to. I, at one point in my life, wanted to be a part of, the federal justice system. Like, I wanted to do that for years. Because I truly did believe, like, the law is like this separate entity that it can operate in a fair and, blind, justice is blind type of thing kind of manner. But even when I tried to give the police department the benefit of the doubt, there's really no way you can explain why they specifically went after me other than just laying it out how the timeline is. I wrote an article criticizing the Lenexa Police Department. They looked into me. It's like, it's very cause and effect. Like, even if it's like they had some reason to believe that I was the paper hanger, their like leap in investigative logic was, oh, this guy wrote an article about us that is saying, they don't like us. He doesn't like us. This must be the guy that put up the poster. Like, that doesn't even make any sense. So I can't assume anything other than they wanted to go after me. They wanted to punish me for doing it. And I also think that because they put out both a BOLO, a be on the lookout for, and something called a make your own case on me. And a make your own case is basically a kind of catch-all term that says, okay, there's like no probable cause to pull this guy over. There's really not a reason to pull this guy over. He has broken no laws. However, if you all can find a reason to make your own case, then when you find him, okay, cool, like see if he's got a busted taillight, see if his tag's out of date or something like that. That's what they were trying to get me for, but they didn't, obviously. They didn't encounter me in that, so they were never able to get me. So yeah, I 100% think it was an attempt to try and chill my free speech, essentially.
Tell us more about that moment, like when the reporter's at your door and you're like, what the heck's going on? Like, what did they say to you? Tell us more about it.
Basically what had happened was I think it was like 2 or 3 in the afternoon, something like that. I got a knock on my door, and a reporter, Sam Zeff, introduced himself. He said, hi, I'm Sam Zeff from KCUR. I don't know if you know this or not, but you were the subject of a police investigation, but by the time I'm done with my story, I think, what did he say? He said something very kind of like reporter-y. It was like, I think you're going to be the hero of the story or something like that. And my first reaction was, show me your ID, because I don't know who you are. And like, I literally made him like take out his ID and like showed it to me, and then I Googled his name, and I was like, yep, okay, Sam Zeff. And then he came in, and I wasn't quite shaking, but I was like, in my head, I remember thinking, oh, this is real. Like, this is happening right now. Like, this is like, I'm really getting into it now. I had to actually tell him before he kind of started, we went on the record and everything. I had to be like, I need to go pop an anxiety med real quick. I'll be right back. And I went and took one of my like as needed like SSRIs that I take, because I hadn't taken it that day, and I was like, well, now's a good time, if any, to take one. It's a good time to take my Zoloft or whatever. And he sat down and kind of went through the whole thing with me, and he had to repeat some details a couple of times because I would just go like, what? Like, because I wasn't really processing it. Like, he would like show me emails and things like that of like people talking about the article and all sorts of weird, crazy details. Like, they had like at one point a car rolled through my apartment parking lot, and they were like, yeah, his car's there, so he's there. They were like, yeah, he was last seen coming from like the grocery store, like just utterly bizarre to go from I just was like doing my regular 9 to 5, and then here comes a reporter saying, hey, guess what? You got stalked like 6 months ago. It was like I'm smiling because like it's just like totally insane. I have since put in an open records request, and I got a whole bunch of stuff back, all of it very generic. And I happen to know because I saw Sam's, his kind of insider reporting on it, that, and it's also in the KCUR article. He also says it in that article. Like those 2 points in particular, he was at this grocery store, we rolled a car through his parking lot. There's not really any of that. None of that was returned to me in the open records requests at all. So I know that there is some additional documentation internally of, maybe discussions of it or something like that. I can't really speculate as to what it is specifically. So what I was handed in a official, like, here's your records request, is I didn't really get a lot of that internal kind of chatter of like, here's what we think about it or whatnot. It was very just like, here's our camera contracts, here's how long we retain data. By the way, the city of Lenexa has 89 ALPR cameras. They retain data for up to 2 years. So that means if I did something 2 weeks from now and then 2 years went by, they have 2 years worth of data to go through. And they primarily partner with Axon, who is one of these big ALPR providers. Like Flock's a really big one, that's kind of the name brand. And then Axon, they sell a lot of products to police stations and whatnot, but they are also in the ALPR game. So no, I didn't really get a lot of that like personal chatter.
Obviously, this happened months before the reporter came to your door, and like you had no idea that had even occurred.
Yeah.
Has this kind of changed your sense of safety around Lenexa? You're still a resident. I'm assuming everything has kind of stayed the same. Maybe just your sense of safety has changed, or maybe your routine has changed about even just concerns about how you organize.
Yeah, I mean, I do like participate in political actions across the metro, so I already kind of had a little bit of that kind of looking over your shoulder mentality a little bit of like the things that we're organizing in, even though they're not in any sense of the word illegal, the state does not like them because you're pushing against the state. You're saying, hey state, we don't like what you're doing, we don't like that you're being anti-trans, that you're being anti-immigrant, we're organizing, we're demonstrating. So, I already kind of had a little bit of that, okay, I need to be careful with like my digital footprint and all that stuff. It definitely got worse afterwards. Like it definitely got worse. I would say anytime I go to or from where I live, or if I'm traveling through the city center or whatnot, in the back of my head, I am still kind of just waiting for somebody to pull me over that maybe still has a grudge, especially after that KCUR report came out, kind of like exposing that they had done it. Like I'm still kind of waiting for someone to pull me over and be like, this guy's the paper hanger. Like I'm going to see if this guy has like a weird like tag or something like that. I'm going to get this guy finally. So it's definitely impacted it. I for sure feel less safe in this area, which is a shame because like it's a really nice area. Like we're filming in like the Lenexa Public Library right now. It's a great facility that has lots of cool amenities around here. But not everywhere I go, I see those cameras up everywhere, and I'm just like, yep. Every time I go to the grocery store, I'm like, yep, they know I went to the grocery store again. So yeah, it's 100% impacted how I feel about the area.
The police department, they literally aided them in an investigation on you. Just a private citizen going about your business, going to the grocery store, that's an everyday type of situation that most of us do. So what concerns do you have with police and enforcement using surveillance tools like license plate readers to monitor any resident?
I mean, there's quite a few concerns, but I'll just try to keep it to a couple of them. The main concern is that basically we have these big companies that are coming in who are building a surveillance state underneath our noses and also without our consent. They come in, they set up a big camera infrastructure, they hand over that infrastructure to the police, and the police can use it basically at their own discretion. That infrastructure that they build can then be shared and passed along to other neighboring police departments. It can be passed along to Department of Homeland Security, as well as just all of the people who are unelected, non-vetted people that work for Flock or Axon that can theoretically just open up any of the stuff whenever they want. I mean, there was a case just recently here in was it Kansas or Missouri, of a police officer who was using it to like stalk his ex girlfriend or something like that. Like, I have huge concerns over the scope of the technology, the accountability of the technology, and the fact that, again, a lot of these were not really installed with proper consent from communities. So until like they can be entirely reviewed, I really think we should just be removing them. Like, I think contracts should be canceled entirely, like full stop. That's the only way I can see this like being a resolved issue, not like trying to pass more safeguards with it. Like, it's already been abused just in our state several times in like pretty high profile ways in the past year. There was my thing. There was a former Councilwoman Melanie's thing where they looked into her. And this is more speaking of like the misbehavior of the police now at this point. I don't necessarily know if they were used, the ALPR cameras were used in that particular sense. And then there was that cop that was investigating his former partner, spouse. I'm not really sure what it was.
Yes, it was a Kansas police chief, so
Kansas
pretty
police.
high
Oh,
up.
okay, so pretty high up, yeah.
Yeah, stalking their ex 164 times. They checked the.
Oh, was
the
it that
license
many?
plate that many times.
Okay,
So
164 times, yeah.
that's a lot of times, and so again, I think like, what accountability do you want to see from not only the police department but also the city, because they're on top of regulating, these types of surveillance tools, or just in general the way that the police conducts themselves? What type of accountability do you want to see from them?
I mean, I've had a couple people ask me since the story came out of like, oh, well, what are you going to do? And I've been trying to think of what I really want out of it in terms of accountability. And I can tell you right now, I want more than just an apology. Like, an apology is like, I almost don't even want an apology at this point. In fact, you know what? I don't, because it's not going to do anything. My rights were violated, and probably other people's rights have been violated using these cameras. And then just in general, by the Lenexa Police Department, that's myself and, again, Melanie, who on record have had their, rights violated. I think I would like a public acknowledgement that these things are being abused, and I want to see some efforts of getting the cameras getting taken down and canceled. I want the contracts canceled. I think that's what accountability is going to look like for me.
Be addressed.
Yeah.
Do you want to talk a little bit more about like the flock movement that that Deflock movement that you had mentioned?
Yeah. So right now there's a national movement that's trying to get local groups to participate in it as well. It's called Deflock. If you don't know what that is, Deflock is basically just kind of the name brand effort to remove automated license plate readers from cities around the United States. If you go to the Deflock website, you can pull up a literal map of all of the cameras that are up in your area. That's all community sourced and based. There's a lot more than you think there is wherever you are. It's insane. But if you go to noalprs.com, you can sign up there, and they are going to do a big month of action, or a week of action in August, I want to say. And that's going to be a really good way to get connected with, one, the national movement as a whole, and then also trying to get local groups to get their cities to deflock.
And obviously it's horrible that it did, but then when there is people who are from more vulnerable communities, for example, I know you said that you felt horrible because you felt like you could incriminate others around you. And so I think, to me, that's also like, this happened to you, you're a white man, but this could have happened to like an immigrant, somebody who has vulnerable people around them, where it's like, if police are digging and trying to find something, it could lead to a deportation or detention or
100%,
something like
yeah.
that. So do you want to speak to how maybe, if this is like a warning story, like how can we make sure that our communities are protected, like with your story?
I mean, so I would say if it has happened to me, it can happen to literally anybody. Like, people will hear stories about, governments, police stations, police abusing, tools at their disposal, and you think, oh, well, that doesn't really happen here. Like, oh, that's a over there thing. That's a different country thing. It happened here. It happened here. Happened to me. Very like cookie cutter, straight white dude looking guy. Like, it's happening now. This isn't a warning. Like, this isn't smoke. The fire is burning now. Like, when there's smoke, when there is fire, there is fire. The fire is now. We are already past the point where this is, I think, a warning. This is the point where we need to start taking action immediately to get these cameras out of here. So that way, the more vulnerable communities, especially right now with the Trump administration's whole stance on immigration is as hostile as it is, we need to be protecting our friends and our neighbors. And I think easy step to do that is getting cities and towns to deflock. That tool is just ripe for abuse, and we've already been seeing it being abused.
Absolutely. Have any city officials reached out to you after to
No.
apologize? Anybody from the police department?
No, not at all. It's been completely radio silent. The only people who have really reached out to me have been the deputy, I don't know if he's the deputy director, or if he's like the director of the Kansas City opinion column, like where I had my story published. And he reached out to me and he said, hey, are you okay? Like, I've been doing this for 30 years. This has never happened before. Is there anything I can do for you? And at the time I was like, no, I'm okay right now. I'll probably think of something later. Still have not asked him for help yet. Maybe I can do that soon. But no, nobody from the council, nobody from the police station, just complete radio silence. And like, I don't even live that far away from City Hall. So like, they could just like knock on my door or something. It's not that unreasonable. A random unnamed person phoned into the Lenexa Police Department and basically said, hey, I think Councilwoman Melanie is not a citizen. Do with that what you will. And then they said, sounds like a solid lead. Let's look into that. Like, they gave her no benefit of the doubt or anything like that. Again, a sitting member of the Lenexa City Council. Like, again, presumably, to get to that point, you are probably a legal citizen of the United States. Like, they just completely did no due diligence and just decided to look into it because, maybe it's a thing. Like, just completely an unsubstantiated claim that they then went and used their power and authority to look into at that point.
Yes, and I believe that part of it was because she had given testimony for Senate Bill 254, which is in-state tuition for undocumented students. So she had given testimony.
Oh, that's even worse then.
She
I didn't even know that part.
Just in support of keeping in-state tuition for undocumented students, she shared her story of being an immigrant child growing up in Kansas, benefiting from just going to the public school system and all that. So I think, this ties to the hatred and the anti-immigrant rhetoric that not only is happening in our legislature, but it's also being now implemented through our city police departments and just even on our city government. But yeah, that's why it happened.
I mean, let me say, hey, I'm in favor for that too. So if they want to investigate me for being a citizen, go right ahead.
Obviously, but the fact that she had to publicly go through something like that was...
Well, and I think they even... I don't necessarily know, like, specifically what they did after that, but I know that, like, she got the cold shoulder from basically the entire city after that. Like, they are not, like, they don't really talk to her anymore. I'm pretty sure the chief of police, like, probably even said some things to her afterwards that were not, like, very kosher. Like, I don't want to speak on her behalf. That's her story to tell. But, like, they completely turned on her after that, after she decided to use her privilege as a city councilwoman to say, hey, like, this happened to me. Like, this was wrong, to raise the awareness of it. Because I think she did it, was it after the ICE raid that happened, I believe? Like, that's sort of what prompted it as well.
Yes, it was kind of at the same time.
Yeah.
In that last summer, I believe it was.
Yeah, and her treatment as a result was like she just got totally shunned by them and just kind of kicked out in a sense.
And I think maybe you could speak to what changes Lenexa could make to not be that example of like, you know, we over police and we reject immigrants. We reject anybody who speaks out against us.
Yeah, I mean, gosh, that's hard. I mean, because the damage has already been done, and it's been done multiple times. So the only way to really like radically correct that in a way that's going to be substantial is going to be one, again, I think getting rid of those cameras for sure. And then I think they're going to have to really dedicate themselves to not just like in writing showing their support for marginalized communities, for immigrant communities. I think whatever they're doing with ICE now, like any sorts of cooperation that they're doing right now, we need to know what agreements they have with them, if any, and they need to be discontinued. Like that's the only thing you can really do at this point in my mind that's going to really make a difference. Is just like the full stop of any sort of collaboration or support of ICE activity. I can't really think of anything else that's going to meet the moment at all. That's not just going to be like, oh, we're sorry. Like, sorry about that. Oops. Yeah.
Because obviously, like, these are two public cases, and the only way we found out is because of that KCUR article. Otherwise, you would have gone your whole life not knowing that this investigation happened.
Whole life, yeah. And then even with my open records request, I still don't really have all of the details that I know kind of surround the case. Like, I know discovery can kind of be like a weird, messy thing to get documents and whatnot, but like I'm an IT guy. I do systems and whatnot. I knew looking at the documents they handed me that they didn't give me everything. Like, I have enough clues to put together that between the comment that's in the KCUR article of, oh yeah, he went to this grocery store, and oh yeah, we rolled a car through his parking lot, and then the document I got, which is just a 2-column spreadsheet that's like, okay, a date and my license plate, saying, you know, it was read like over 100 times or something like that. Like, there's more information there that I don't have that was not given to me in an open records request. And that's a story that we know happened. So who knows what it's being used for, by who, and against who. Like, it's just it's a complete black box that we don't have really any insight into.
Use public resources because obviously the police department is funded by, you know, the community in Lenexa, and so they're using it to investigate, you know, horrible claims against a city councilwoman, but then they're also aiding ICE, and then on top of that, when they're criticized for this, then they're using it to investigate the people that are criticizing them. So I think for me, it's like, what changes do you think should be made for community to feel safe with the police department in general, but also just for like Lenexa to kind of live up to the values that they say they have?
Yeah, I mean, I think again, I think it goes back to there needs to be some type of action and not just like I said, like a written response or an apology. Like, camera contracts need to be canceled. There needs to be proof that they are not cooperating with ICE. There needs to be, I really think, like a renewed commitment to the community of, hey, we are here to be for the community and by the community, and not just spying on you through our screens and through, you know, all the other means that we have at our disposal. I think anything short of that is going to just feel very disingenuous and not, it's going to be, for lack of a better phrase, it's going to be a cop-out.
Yeah, just tell us more about the Deflock cameras of it all.
So there's a website, so the movement itself is called Deflock, because Flock is sort of the company that has the most, I'm going to say bad, just publicity in general, but also bad publicity because their owner is a crazy person. And it's also just kind of got like the catchiest name to it. So you can go to Deflock. Deflock has it's a live map that is updated by the community, so just people, that points out, you know, where the cameras are at, where they're pointing, and you can just go to it on your phone. I think it's literally just like deflock.com. And the movement itself, the Deflock movement, is having a big week of action in mid-August. to try and get communities to pressure their local governments to remove them. Because that's one of the really nice things about this whole situation is that even though it seems like, and it is, all of a sudden this surveillance state was just sort of like snapped into existence without any of our consent, they were all installed at the local level. Nice thing about that is if you get the local community together, then you can get the cameras removed pretty easily. Like you don't have to wait through like years of Washington gridlock. It's your city council people. You can go to your council meetings, you can, let them know how you feel, and you can vote them out, you can pressure them. They already have gotten some removed in a neighboring town, Weston, Kansas. They deflocked for the very same reason. The community figured out it was happening, and they didn't like it. So they canceled all their flock contracts, and they removed the ones that were in place. So it's totally possible to get them removed, but it does take a coalition of the community to get them removed, and that's sort of what Deflock is doing.
And it goes hand in hand. Like if we're seeing that the tactics to intimidate people who are outspoken look like this, then it's like also it might intimidate folks to not advocate. But actually, I think maybe this riled a fire in you, right? To continue, especially against
Oh yeah, no. I was already kind of active in the state, doing demonstrations and whatnot. I am now very specifically targeting flock ALPRs and just sort of the surveillance state in general as one of the things that I kind of focus on in the local politics that I'm engaged in. I have had, even just in the last 2 weeks, I've had a couple, I want to say probably 3 or 4 different meetings specifically just about license plate readers and Flock and Axon. I'm obviously trying to get some movement in Lenexa because that's just where I live. But there's a ton of people in the KC Metro right now that are doing a lot of good work to try and get these cameras down. Especially ahead of the World Cup and everything. There's a lot of things going on with that. But the time to do it is right now. And it's a wedge issue. It's a cross party lines issue because you know what? Nobody likes being spied on 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Because it's not, the funny thing about these cameras is it's not like surveillance in a movie where someone is sitting at a computer and just kind of watching you and being like, oh, okay, I'm watching him all day. It's you go to the computer and you say, okay, what was Canyon doing 2 weeks ago at 3 p.m.? And then just seeing where all the hits are. It's constant surveillance. You don't have to be active in front of a computer. You can just roll up to it and find out what somebody was doing 2 weeks ago. And be like, cool, they rolled through this stop 2 weeks ago. They were at this intersection 2 weeks ago. Whenever they want, they being, the police department, the companies, or the larger government, like DHS or something like that. Yeah, all they need to do is just go, okay, cool, Canyon, license plate. Oh, okay, cool, here's everywhere he's been for the past, in the case of Lenexa, 2 years, because that's how long the retention period is on their data.
For me, it's also now I'm even thinking, how do you even keep all this information? Is it a data center? Is
data
this all
centers
together?
Yeah, it 100% is, especially because with the infrastructure that they're building now, a lot of the upscaling that they're doing, so they go into a town and they say, okay, City of Lenexa, I don't know if this is necessarily how it happened for Lenexa, but we're going to install some automated license plate readers. It's going to do XYZ for your police department. It's going to make their jobs a little bit easier. They go, oh, cool, slam dunk. That sounds great. That'll be great for the police. It'll be better on crime. All those reasons you would approve something like that in the abstract. Now they're upgrading the cameras and the whole back-end infrastructure with AI, data processing, and that does go hand in hand with, oh, hey, we're building all these AI data centers. It all kind of connects in terms of money exchanging hands. It's all the same couple of people moving money around going, okay, cool, I'm going to build a data center. You're going to build your cameras over here. It doesn't end. It's just, if I know I have this blue wall here thing behind me. If I had some red yarn and whatnot, I would just be tying it to different like, pictures in businesses and whatnot. It 100% is all tied in. But again, the nice thing about all of that is we know who's doing it, so the communities can rally together and go, okay, we'll get out of our neighborhood. And they do have to do that once the community comes together and says, hey, city council, hey, Flock, hey, Axon, get your data centers out of here, get your Flock cameras out of here. We don't want you here. Go away. Yeah, so if people want to do something about ALPR cameras in general, they can go to Deflock and see what cameras are in their neighborhood, in their area, in their communities. And then you can sign up for the National Week of Action in August at noalprs.com, noalprs.com.